is Lisa from Mobile Tech Review, and today we're looking at the Dell XPS 13. This is Dell's first Ultrabook. They may be a little late to market compared to other manufacturers, but they put out a really nice product. We're going to take a look at it now. So this is the Dell XPS 13. It's a 13.3-inch Intel Ultrabook. Dell is the last to the market, though who knows, might follow next, but we've already seen ones from Lenovo, Toshiba, of course the original one, the Apple MacBook Air, which was never called an Ultrabook, the Asus ZenBook, and the HP Folio 13. So now we've got Dell's entry. And it's priced similarly to the others. In fact, it's a little bit cheaper than some of the others, but you get really high-quality materials that I like a lot. By the way, if you want to see one of these in person, sometimes it can be hard to find Dells. They should eventually appear at Fry's and Micro Center, and they are at Dell kiosks to view. The machine starts at $9.99, and you get your usual Core i5 ULV processor running at 1.6 gigahertz. Pretty much you're going to find the same thing on all of the Ultrabooks, with a Core i7 option that brings up the speed a little bit, but honestly, for the upcharge, I wouldn't spend my money so much on that. There's a middle-level model, it's $12.99, and that ups the 128 gig SSD to 256 gigs. That's pretty worthwhile, because 128 gigs, well, that leaves you about 80 gigs free after Windows and the basic software is installed in there. That's kind of a little tight. With the 256, you get about 212 gigs available. And interestingly, Dell loves to partition their hard drives, and they still actually have a dedicated hibernation partition. That's not your hibernation system file that you can see if you turn on invisible files in Windows. Separate 8 gig partition. Why it's there, I don't know. Personally, I whacked it, and I extended my partitions, and I actually put Windows 8 Beta on this, which we'll show you running in a minute. It runs very nicely. Anyway, SSD is all that you're going to get with this, which is a good thing. We don't want spinning hard drives and something that's very light and portable. You can pick up, shake around, and it makes it way, way, way faster. Speaking of faster, on synthetic benchmarks, PC Mark Vantage, it scored a 9850. That's an excellent number. And that's bolstered by the SSD drive now. PC Mark Vantage is quite influenced by the speed of SSD drives versus regular spinning hard drives. But then again, it does make for an experientially faster experience. And this guy scored 40,000 on the disk drive section, which is, wow. I mean, 22,000 used to be mega impressive. That's supremely high, and it's a Samsung SSD. Samsung right now is clearly making the fastest SSD on the market. Take a look at the display here. This is 13.3 inches LED backlit. It's a pretty nice looking display, quite glossy, a little bit annoying, but viewing angles are pretty good. Color saturation is nice, very pleasant for watching videos, and it's covered in Gorilla Glass. So they did the edge-to-edge treatment where the glass comes out all the way, well, to the edge, as you'd expect. And it's definitely a step up, say, from the HP Folio 13, which has a fairly dim display. Not bad colors on it, but dim. And an improvement over the Toshiba Portage Z830, 835 models, which have bright displays, but my God, the viewing angles are very limited on it. This one, you have more leeway. Speaking of viewing angles, this is as far back as this display goes because of the design of the lid. It kind of would hit the backside here. You try to push it any further. But that's far enough in most cases. But if you're standing up, say you got this at a kitchen counter and you're trying to look at it, you might wish you could tip it back a little bit more to get maximum contrast. Other goodies that you get with this are backlit keyboard. One of the nicest keyboards too. Some Ultrabooks have really unpleasant keyboards to type on in terms of shallow travel and tight key arrangement. And this is right up there with the HP Folio for a really nice keyboard. Much better than the ZenBook. So for those of you who have to do a lot of writing, that's an important consideration. So you can see nice rounded keys. They're actually sculpted from a side view. And we've got FN buttons up here. You do have to hit the FN key to use like the wireless controls, the brightness and all that kind of thing. You can adjust the back level brightness of the keyboard. We'll show you the backlighting in a minute. Here we have a fairly large buttonless trackpad. This is made by Cypress. And it's pretty good in terms of multi-touch responsiveness. I know Dell's working on some updated drivers to improve it even further, but right now I'm actually liking it pretty well and I haven't had any problems with palm rejection. While we're looking at the top here, you can see we have, this is a typical Dell looking machine. The lid in general for Dell notebooks are influenced by the MacBook Pro line of computers, but inside this is their typical black look. This is magnesium, this deck here with a soft touch paint finish on it. We've got the Gorilla Glass for durability here. The lid is aluminum, nice clean lozenge looking, although, like I said, Mac influence there with the curvy corners. And the bottom is very cool. They went with carbon fiber. So you have that neat, typical carbon fiber pattern. They don't hide it like Sony does with their carbon fiber notebooks. You've got two rubbery strips here that protect the bottom and stop it from sliding around on your desk. And this mysterious little door is pretty firm to open up, but it just has the serial number here. So with Ultrabooks, it's been a challenge to find a place where you could actually put the serial number. In fact, ASUS with the ZenBook put it on the power brick, which, gee, doesn't really make sense. You get a new power brick and you've lost your Windows seal of authenticity. This is your air intake over here. This raises it up a little bit so that you're not going to smother the air intakes completely, but I would be careful of using this on the lap, especially because it does run a little bit towards the warm side, not in terms of touching it. If you touch it anywhere, it's very cool, and that's one of the reasons they went with carbon fiber. It is very cool. But looking at CPU core temperatures on this, it runs at about 50 degrees centigrade. Now maximum is 100, so you're nowhere near damaging the unit, but some of them tend to run even cooler, some of the Ultrabooks in the 30s, whereas the MacBook Air also runs in the 50s, so it's more like that. You can see we've got teeny tiny little Torx screws here, pretty much not user upgradable stuff in here. The RAM is soldered to the motherboard, which is typical for Ultrabooks because they have teeny motherboards, and you get 4 gigs of RAM with this. You do have a mSATA drive inside that is replaceable, and there's a wireless card in here, but you already get a good Intel Wi-Fi BGN with integrated Bluetooth on there that works with Intel WiDi. That's wireless display, so you can actually wirelessly send your display over to your HD TV, for example, and if you have a net-to-gear push TV or one of the other devices that work with WiDi, and just throw stuff on your TV and watch it there. Take a look back here. Again, this hinge is a little bit influenced by Apple. It's a very big hinge, and in here where you really can't see it, this is where the fan exhausts out of this crack right here behind where the display opens up. It's got a wedge shape. To me, it looks pretty Dell-like. Again, it just has their usual black on the edges, silver here, kind of curvy. They like the wedge look. And we've got USB port here. This is your charging port. Comes with a very compact charging adapter. Your headphone mic combo jack. And on this side, we got the little battery indicator. It's kind of handy to have. Another USB port. This is a high-speed USB 3.0 port. And this is a mini display port, just like MacBook Airs and some Lenovo's have. And some reviewers have complained about the fact that this does not have an HDMI port. I think actually it's pretty awesome we have a display port. You can get this mini display port to HDMI adapter for like 10 to 20 bucks. No big deal if you want to use HDMI. But what this means, this can drive really big monitors, like some of Dell's really nice IPS 27 or 30-inch displays, no problem. And in fact, I plugged this into my 30-inch Apple Cinema display using this mini display port connector, and it drove that monitor perfectly along with the internal panel at the same time. So it's actually a plus. Front edge is very thin. And as you can see, we've got the backlit keyboard here in a fairly dark room. Very nice backlighting, white, clear, easy to see. Dell goes with those uppercase, kind of modern sans serif letters, so certainly very easy to use in the dark and nice touch. We wish every notebook had a backlit keyboard. So we've got aluminum on the lid, we've got Gorilla Glass here for the display, we've got magnesium alloy, and we have carbon fiber underneath, and a very rigid chassis. So all in all, a very sturdy 3-pound Ultrabook. By the way, we've got a webcam up here and 2 microphones. Again, it has Wi-Fi 802.11 BGN, that's dual band, 5 GHz, 2.4 GHz, Bluetooth as well. Then we're going to compare it to a couple of other Ultrabook and Ultrabook-like products. First, we're going to compare it to the 13-inch MacBook Air. This is the latest generation Air. So now we've got them side by side so you can see the difference in the keyboard deck and the size. And one of the things that Dell did, one of the reasons they said they left out, say, the SD card slot, is because they were trying to get an 11.6-inch footprint for a 13.3-inch machine, and it is a little bit smaller. Compare them closed. Nice stiff hinge, by the way. And there's a little bit of difference in size. The Dell is smaller. It's not miraculously smaller. I wouldn't say it's 11.6-inch small, but they do have to fit that display. But again, you know, the same curved aesthetic here. A lot of similarities in that respect. And from the side view, you can see that the Mac is deeper. And now we'll compare it to Toshiba Portage Z830 Ultrabook, which goes for a business-looking kind of, you know, a little bit more bland gray-looking guy here, but very light. This one is about 2.5 pounds, but it also has a lot of flex. It doesn't have all the serious materials on the outside to protect it and all that kind of thing, but from a size perspective, you can see, again, width is about the same. There's your side view. Toshiba doesn't get so much into the taper. And again, you can see the depth is quite different on it. We don't always pay much attention to the box or unboxing, but just to show you, Dell's trying to go for that classy thing, like the MacBook Air and the ZenBook. Comes in a really nice, actually very heavy and sturdy box. Pretty here, they're doing the X thing for the XPS. And also a remarkably small box because, well, it's a small device, and then it sits right in here, and then you get your DVDs and stuff in here. By the way, it also comes with Adobe Photoshop Elements and Premiere Elements 9. And here's the charger, which is rather compact, easy to carry around too, reasonable length of cord attached to it as well. The display resolution is 1366 by 768, which is pretty standard for Ultrabooks and computers actually up to 15 inches sometimes. Now it'd be neat to see a higher resolution option, and maybe that's coming since the Asus ZenBook is 1600 by 900 and the MacBook Air is 1440 by 900. But I'll tell you one thing, having used the ZenBook for several months, it's a little hard on the eyes. It's a lot of resolution to squeeze in there, so unless you're young and you have good eyes, be careful what you wish for, because you may find that you're just enlarging the fonts and semi-negating the value actually of that higher resolution display. In terms of value added and stuff like that, you get a 1-year warranty, and that's actually good for in-home service, which is kind of cool. And because it's really not a user-serviceable computer, Dell figures that you actually need that level of service to be reassured, since you can't take it apart yourself. It also includes accidental damage protection. If you trip and drop it in the pool, if you spill coffee on it, you're covered. Not too bad. And for the first 10,000 that they sell, you get a free T-Mobile hotspot. That's one of those little 4G hotspots that you can carry around in your hand and can connect up to 5 computers to get wireless internet access. And no contracts required for that. They give you 3 separate 1-month passes for data access, and you can just go month to month if you want with that. It's a pretty good deal. And in terms of software, they do a good job of keeping the bloatware off compared to something like the HP Folio, which is, oh my god, so laden with bloatware. This is pretty clean. You do get this Dell Stage UI, which is this launcher strip right here, for those of you who aren't Dell people and don't know about it. Shortcut to games, the weather, which is this AccuWeather widget here. I feel like it's an Android moment when you see weather widgets floating around. Imaging software, we've got the Dell Stage Video Player, which has built-in Hulu access, and shortcuts to websites, your support, remote control, all sorts of things like that. And of course, if you don't want it, you can close it out. You get the usual Microsoft Office 2010 Starter Edition. If you take a look on here, we've got Blio, we have Cozy Family Calendar, and the rest of the stuff is mostly Dell utilities and actually useful things. You get McAfee 1-month trial with this, and also Zinio. Of course, anything you don't want, you can remove. So, pleasantly bloatware free. Very nice. This is set up more like a Dell for Business system, so you're not getting a whole lot of junk on there. So far, we've obviously liked pretty much everything about the machine. The build quality, the gorgeous materials, very nice display, fast performance, very nice fast performance for an Ultrabook or for really any computer that you're not expecting to be a desktop replacement super duper gaming system, because this does have Intel HD 3000 integrated graphics. Fine for video playback, fine for moderate Photoshop use. You're not going to be playing Crysis 2 at high frame rates though. But the one thing we don't like about the fan, you can hear the fan probably right now. It's audible, and it runs most of the time. Now, it's not annoying like the Toshiba Portage Z830, which has the most high-pitched kind of horrible sounding. But still, it's running all the time, and I know Dell is working on some BIOS updates to actually tone down the fan a bit. Because the strange thing is, you can look at the CPU temperature and see that there's no rhyme or reason actually right now about the fan running relative to the CPU temperature. So supposedly they're working on that, they're going to tweak that. Now, this is a fully capable notebook computer. You can run MS Office very easily. You can run Adobe Photoshop. Like I said, even with Intel HD 3000 graphics, runs just fine. I work with 20 meg images all the time in RAW format, and I'm not complaining at all about that. It plays video quite well. And we'll take a look at a little streaming YouTube video right now. Let's see how that does. Hulu and Netflix, no problem. Now we'll check out Lindsay Lohan on Saturday Night Live, and we'll pull that out to full screen.
You know, this studio feels like a home to me.
Nice speakers. We're set at 70% volume, and it's quite loud. Very full with good separation. Nice audio.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Keenan.
Hey, so good to see you again. I forgot how beautiful your eyes are.
Very pleasant video experience, and this is streaming in HD right now, so
Yeah, can I see your eyes, please?
no problem. Very capable.
You know,
She's good.
Now we're going to show you how Windows 8 runs. And that's the standard startup screen for that. So here we are right now in Windows 8. Now, granted, this is really a little bit more ideal for tablets still, but it works just fine. So we've got weather here, we've got all of our live tiles. And as you can see, this becomes a scroll bar down here, so you can keep scrolling without having the swipe gesture available on the touchscreen. Now you can swipe on the touchpad if you've got drivers installed. And if you want to get to your settings, right there, they are. And you can zoom in and you can zoom out, all that good stuff. So we'll just take a look at a couple of things so you can see how quickly it runs. So there we've got our weather, and we can side swipe to see more days and get more views here. And all that kind of thing. And anytime you want to get back home, you just hit the Windows button. So it's as simple as that. We've got the web browser here. We'll take a look at that too. This is the full screen Metro web browser as opposed to the desktop one. Looks just fine, very responsive. And if we want to see our regular desktop, something more like Windows 7 for those of you who are not too into that new UI. So everything works as planned. We've got Skype installed on this. On Windows 8 works just fine. Office, no problem. Again, Windows 8 is a computer, just like Windows 7, so you can do everything right here. And clearly the Dell, because the Ultrabook hardware platform is pretty much a standard reference design for Microsoft, is very well suited to running Windows 8 for those of you who are excited about that. And it runs very nice and very stable on this too, for those of you who actually want to get one of these and play with it for several months until the actual release version comes out. In terms of gaming, well, certainly you can play casual games on this, but you can also play, even with the Intel HD 3000 graphics, which is your only option on the Ultrabook, you can play things like Left 4 Dead 2, you can play World of Warcraft, certainly older games, RTS games, that kind of thing. Sims 2 would probably do just fine on this. Crysis 2, not so much. You'll probably get about 20 FIPS or so on that, so that's not super duper playable. So for moderately demanding games, yes. For your most demanding games, you're still going to have to look at a gaming notebook with discrete graphics for that. Now, Ultrabooks, generally speaking, have fairly good battery life. The Intel ULV CPU is very power efficient, and you've got SSD drive in here. It doesn't use up too much power either. And so far, we've been getting, with pretty moderately demanding use, using this to play videos, do word processing, play some music, a good mix of uses, not just sitting there in the same web page, for example, that kind of thing. We're getting about 6.5 hours so far, so that puts it in range with other Ultrabooks. It's not the super longest lasting, which would be the HP Folio, but there's a reason for that. The HP Folio has the dimmest display and the lowest performance ratings so far in synthetic benchmarks. So, well, if you're really trying to be conservative with your CPU use and you have this display dim, you are going to get better battery life. So, there's that. This also has facial logon software that, well, after an update that I got just yesterday, boy, it actually works. Unlike most of these products, it's quite good, it's quite fast, and it learns. So say you're at a different angle than you were when you first started snapshotting your face. As long as you enter in the correct password, it knows, aha, it really was you. It saves a whole database of you at different angles. Anyway, it works quickly, it works well. And then we have this other thing, Fast Access, which will pop up and remind you. And it uses basically the camera to check every so often to see if you're really there. And if you're not there, it offers to manage Windows power settings and to put the computer to sleep or turn off the display when it doesn't see you. So that's the Dell XPS 13. It's available now, just started shipping here at the beginning of March. And you'll probably be able to see one of the Dell kiosks near you if you want to get an in-person look at this guy. Again, we love the keyboard. Very typing-friendly keyboard. Nice, large keys, sculpted, well spread out. And for an Ultrabook, which means, gosh, this thing is skinny, there's not much room for travel, it has reasonably good travel. This is definitely a good keyboard for a writer. This and the HP Folio are two of my favorites for that. Way, way, way better than the Asus ZenBook and the Toshiba Portage Z830 when it comes to typing experience. I like the Gorilla Glass display. Plenty of glare there, but it has reasonably good viewing angles compared to other Ultrabooks, some of whom are particularly limited, and colors are nice, and the brightness is very impressive. This is one of the brighter Ultrabooks. Now, the ZenBook is still the very brightest, but this guy's right up there at around 300 nits or so of brightness. The materials are excellent. The fit and finish is well put together. You can't beat carbon fiber, magnesium alloy, aluminum, Gorilla Glass, all this stuff put together. It feels rigid, it feels sturdy. It looks very nice as well. And performance, this is one of the better performing Ultrabooks, again with that PC Mark Vantage score of 9850. This is a quite fast machine, just with the Core i5 version. Core i7, of course, you'll get even a little bit more performance out of it. SSD drive is standard once again, and that's a good thing because that's part of what makes this very fast and very durable in terms of something you can carry around and toss in your backpack. We like that dual band Intel Wi-Fi 802.11bgn with WiDi support. Really nice to wirelessly watch things on your TV. You can actually use your TV as a second monitor for this, so you can actually do work here and have a video playing in the second screen, which would be your TV. I'm Lisa from Mobile Tech Review. Visit our website for the full review of the Dell XPS 13 Ultrabook.